Hello, welcome to RLP is Healing. I am your host, Tammy, and today we are going to talk about a topic that is a bit controversial: recovery with cannabis. And our guest, Coco, I'm really truly excited to have her on. I met Coco on TikTok, and we had a connection immediately because we are both in recovery. And cannabis was a part of it. Today, you're going to hear her story and her transformation in recovery, as well as we are going to talk about some different spaces that you could go if you are someone that is in recovery and uses cannabis. You guys have an amazing day and enjoy this episode. Getting to be with her family and her grandbabies and her husband. Hey, Coco, it's so freaking awesome to see you and for us to finally get on this damn thing.
Very much so, very much so.
Thank you so much for being here. I appreciate it.
Me.
Coco, why is the topic of recovery and cannabis so important for you to talk about? Because we both know that when you hear recovery and cannabis, the first thing people do is fucking cringe.
Right. I didn't think I was an addict. I really didn't. I was using medication. I had given up crack. I had given up meth. To me, I wasn't an addict. I had a TIA, which is a type of small stroke, that they caught on CT scan because I'm blessed with a funny story of an inoperable brain tumor. And my husband was worried it was back, and so we checked on it. They caught the stroke on file, but labeled me a addict for cannabis on a pain contract.
Okay, tell me more about that.
It was horrible. I was quickly cut off of my what turned out to be too many pills. Um, and that's kind of what led into my son's friend seeing me struggle with them, and I didn't want to admit I was struggling. Like, I was fine, but when I ran out, it was bad. And Tyler is the one that we talk about him often and cry. Um, because, uh, sorry, my husband's trying to come in and say something to me. Um, Tyler was the one that got me to try cannabis. And that's what got me labeled as a addict for cannabis on a paying contract. That's what started it. That literally, I don't know how else to explain it. Is doctor started an argument with me that opened a can of worms that I don't know how to stop. Like, others are out there, I'm finding, that are in the same boat. So
Wow. You know what? It's great when we know someone and they come in and they're like, hey, there's a problem. Hey, you've got a challenge. Let me help you. So let's go into that. Was that the moment that you realized that you actually had an addiction to narcotic medication?
no, I did not realize it was an addiction to narcotics in general for probably about 2 years. Um it was 2015 before I realized I had a problem and that it was going to truly be a path of using cannabis strictly, and I needed good access to it, that I had the problem. Like being treated at every doctor's appointment like you're pill seeking when you're only trying to get your prescription blood pressure medication, is horrible. Sorry. Um,
No, hey, I understand. The one thing is take your time if you need it. I I feel that being someone that was an addict myself as well, I feel very, and it sounds odd, but I feel very blessed that I actually have an allergy to narcotic medication. It makes me sick, made me have a grand mal seizure. I
uh,
I had to get Narcan.
I was speaking with my amazing husband just yesterday and said I am probably blessed that I'm scared to death of needles.
You know what? I'm right there with you. I'm not scared of needles. I just hate them. I'm diabetic. Nobody wants to poke themselves. I don't want to poke my fucking
I
self.
am
I'm tired of poking myself. So I'm happy and blessed. So
I
narcotics and
right,
needles. So
right.
happy and so blessed because we could have gone down another road.
It took my ex-girlfriend 2 hours to talk me through giving myself my first shot for diabetes. So
I'm sorry. I laugh because that's how it was with my mom. My mom had been taking, insulin shots, and she's like, okay, Tamala, she called me by my birth given name. Okay,
right.
Tamala, this is how you do it. So you squeeze the skin I was like, you know what? I am so happy that I was not an IV drug user. Okay. Because I probably, you know what? Maybe I wouldn't have ever even gotten high, like because I didn't want to poke myself. But I digress on that.
Yeah,
Um,
I 2 hours on the phone with Kayleen laughing, uh, rest her soul, I miss her. She lost her battle with diabetes a few years back. Um,
mhm,
she never was able to make the change that she would have needed to make, in order to live properly. She was an alcoholic from childhood
mhm.
and a diabetic from childhood.
Okay.
So she went on to the other side to check it out for us.
You
So
know what? Hey, it does something to us. My younger sister, she passed,
Mhm.
and addiction was the deal breaker. You
Right.
know what I mean? And that's how I refer to it. My sister went to the other side, and she's doing over there what she needs to do to support us over here. And
Yep.
actually, I feel that is why I have gotten to have you on the podcast today. One thing that I want to talk about, I know that cannabis has come into your life, and we'll get into our conversations on that because we know the power of cannabis and we've experienced the power of it. But I would like to know, when was the rock bottom with narcotics? Let's be honest, folks. If you are somebody listening to this podcast this morning, afternoon, evening, in this moment, we're not trying to talk people into accepting and using cannabis. But what we are doing today is showing people that cannabis has made changes in people's lives. In my life, being somebody that has been dealing with multiple sclerosis and fibromyalgia, and in Coco's life, dealing with having a brain tumor. So when you take a moment and you listen to this and you hear that some of these medications that doctors are giving us are killing us. I personally had a grand mal seizure in the hospital after they gave me morphine. I almost died. They had to give me Narcan to bring me out of this moment. And I want you guys to hear what Coco's rock bottom experiences were
with narcotic medication. Coco, thank you for. I went on my damn soapbox. You know me in that damn soapbox.
I love that soapbox. I will let you have it. My rock bottom, 9/11 of 2018. Um, I had found out that I was going to have a grandbaby uh, in October, right around the time of my son's birth. And I had always promised myself I would die before I loved an October baby, because of the loss of my son, which is really hard when you yourself are an October baby. Um, but when that doctor told me that if I wanted to die, I could just die, I knew I was going the pill route. I was still sneaking the occasional benzo in my system, so there was that. Um, but the only other thing I had in my system was cannabis. And when that doctor told me if I wanted to die, I could die, they could have my pills. Um, I I had a question for whatever's out there out on the other side about why he took my son. Um, and I was gonna ask it. Uh, but that was my rock bottom. Being homeless, being considered crazy because nobody could comprehend I was processing emotions from 1990 and trying to learn to love a grandchild when I couldn't love my child or myself. Sorry.
Oh, don't be sorry, Coco. Guess what? This is that space, you know. You know that it's always a safe space.
Right? Um, so I went home after going to that doctor and flushed every one of my pills that I could, that I had, down the toilet. Uh, Under duress, told my husband that if I ever ask you for another one of your pills, you're to bitch slap me, and tell me no, which is hilarious because, my husband is probably the most gentle soul you would ever meet. Um, and in that time of being homeless and being crazy, I was losing him.
Hmm.
And he's my rock. He's my support. Um, he is what has made me go, fine, I don't love myself, but we're at least friends with benefits.
See,
Yeah.
hey, friends with benefits is where we start, right? It's where we start. You know me. I promise I won't get on the soapbox, but you know how I am. Self-love romance. Love
Oh
yourself.
yes. Oh
Right?
yes. And um, it, I've always believed that life after death, we still have our loved ones around us. And so, of course, baby Ernie would be one of them. The hardest part of talking about Tyler being the one that brought me to cannabis is he died in a freak accident.
And that's where I was gearing to go. I was actually getting ready to ask you to tell me a little bit more about Tyler because, you know, this was the person that he kind of, and we're not, I hate the word pushed, but he's the person that kind of drew you in to seek the help and actually take this step with cannabis.
He was. Sorry, my battery decided to go ping. Um he did it in such a way that it was a loving push. A loving thump upside the head. Mom, you've got problems. Because that's what he called me, was mom. I was mom. He didn't get along with his mother. just like normal teenage stuff. And he stayed with me, and he always talked about family being family. You know, you don't always get to choose your family, but you gotta love them. Um, and he found out that he had gotten somebody pregnant and decided not to move to Washington with us because I was set. I was moving to Washington. I was becoming a cannabis patient. I was getting off of and being free from as many medications as I could be from. Um, and he was hit by a car that killed him instantly. He was
I
on his
can
way to
only.
get diapers for his baby. Um, he's my driving force.
Mhm.
One of them, because I always wonder if I'd make him proud. Um,
And
yeah,
we know he's proud because you've been doing amazing work, and this is just from getting to know you and knowing you uh, more on the personal side.
right.
And I see you doing the work. I see you moving forward. I see you as an advocate for cannabis. And so let's get into the aspect of using cannabis in your recovery. What are some groups? What are some things that
Okay,
you
there
discover?
are two that I use that are just amazing. Okay, um, I use Recovery Gone Viral 2.0. They're on Facebook at least. Um, but there is also Canna Recovery. Canna Recovery has done it for me. The day I found them, I went, holy crap, he was telling the truth. He being Tyler. There are people out here that use this to become better.
Yes, I love that because you also know that because of my own personal experience that I actually am a patient as well. And that's because of
Yes,
the MS and the fibro.
yes. I got mine on post-traumatic stress disorder. Um, they finally put it in my file. During the time that I had my mental break, that what they call a mental breakdown, um, they being doctors, uh, I got to process the emotions of losing baby Ernie. And I was blessed with a grandson that came one day shy of 29 years, apart from my stillborn.
Mhm.
And so I had no choice. I was going to love an October baby.
Mhm.
Um, I mean, like, it was a fleeting thought that I was going to go ahead and end my life. Uh, but it, he came at a time that I needed him. And doctors finally went, wait, we were wrong. Post traumatic stress disorder can happen to non military people. And they put it in my file, which gave me access to the medical cannabis.
See, I love that. Tell me though, one thing too that like one thing that has connected us is the holistic practices, the
Yes,
meditation, the
yes,
breath work, the
yes.
mindfulness. How has cannabis helped you in the area when it comes to using the meditation, the mindfulness, the breath work? How does the cannabis work well with it for you?
Sorry. Has the breath work has helped my lungs become stronger. I used to smoke cigarettes. Okay.
Mhm.
Um, when I had my stroke, uh, I forgot I had a cigarette habit. That's what happened with the stroke. That was it. Um, but my lungs were weak from years and years of hardcore smoking and learning to do the breath work with you. I literally now can hit the bong better.
And one thing that is hilarious, and I consider it hilarious, because in my business practice, you already know, RLP, yes, we do have some portions of us that do involve cannabis.
Right.
And we have a cannabis breathwork meditation class. And it's
You
where I
do?
show people.
We're gonna have to have me get in that one. That one would be that would be the one I need to take for sure.
And it's virtual, so everybody gets to
Right.
enjoy. And one thing about even with breath work without cannabis. So breath work is something that helps your lungs. It makes them stronger. And it's like hearing about that. That's so awesome. So now you feel stronger with the lungs. Yes. So
It's helped.
So I want to know a bit more with because, some of the listeners today may be in a place of they're like, well, wait a minute, like, is she smoking all damn day? How is she doing it? So what does a routine for you look like with adding cannabis into your day?
When I was using strictly cannabis, like Washington State legal cannabis, um, I usually was a get up in the morning, have a couple tokes. After lunch, have a couple tokes. In the evening, have a couple tokes. At night, and now I'm talking maybe 3 or 4 tokes off of a small bowl. Um, at night, I used I hate the word because I can never say it properly, tincture that I had
Yes.
made,
You got
that
it.
I had myself had made out of Everclear and cannabis. I know big words like decarboxylation. Uh, I used a small amount of that tincture every night,
Mm-hmm.
and that would help me sleep. I was off of all sleeping medications, off of melatonin, off of Benadryl. Um, Thankfully, the Benadryl, because the Benadryl is what causes the massive nightmares, night terrors,
Mm-hmm.
for me. And talk about a bad reaction, but um, and it's to something that so many give no credit to. Like, oh, Benadryl, it's available over the counter. It can't give you anything bad. Well, yeah, it can.
Mm-hmm.
So, um, I even know you can use it to get high. Uh, so sorry, kind of went off my point there.
Oh no. Hey, dude, you already know this is total space to be open, to be you, to talk about your experience. That's the thing. And I feel that sometimes a lot of society, they would rather us just stay in this box. We're supposed to be sitting in this box of this is the way that it is. This is this. And we are only supposed to be doing we as little girls, we want to get married, have the white picket fence, have the 2.5 kids because you got the dog and the cat and the boy and the girl. And you're working this job where you are tirelessly working for 10 hours a day for someone that doesn't even provide you proper insurance or doesn't take care of you as an employee. So, it's about growth.
There
It's
are two
about healing.
statements, right? There are two statements that, like, people have said to me that have made my brain just rewire. And one of them was that my best friend's wife said, normal is a setting on the dryer.
Boom, boom. Like, boom. That's
Because I keep joking around and saying, why be normal? Because my goals when I was a kid was to grow up and be able to dye my hair blue and move to London because that's where it was socially acceptable. So I didn't
yeah.
know the world was going to fall apart in America and, make me want to move to London anyway. So
Dude, I want to go back to Germany.
I've been kicked out of Canada twice because of who I've been with. So I'm kind of stuck in the Americas.
You know, me too, because I can't get my husband on a plane.
Right?
But let's go in to the rediscovering of yourself and, being able to identify yourself now beyond addiction. Like, and teaching people that this is really, our mistakes are really lessons in our lives, that they don't truly identify our authentic self and who we truly are. People think because we were addicts, guess what? We're going to be addicts forever. This is the way that life is. One of my least favorite comments that I hear is once an addict, always an addict. You know what I mean? And really, like, let's talk about the life for you now after addiction.
After addiction, well, after becoming, because I was moving to Washington, I was becoming a cannabis patient. That was my goals. That's where I thought my life would be amazing. Well, it's been further because I I got to move to Kansas. We are a slight drive from where my husband did his time, and he is such a pivotal portion of my recovery. Like, every little girl wants that white picket fence and that husband that worships the ground that they walk on. And I just don't have the white picket fence. Um, Life goals. Uh, you got to realize life is always moving forward. Um, I never seen myself living in Kansas. Um, and because my husband, has such a strong story here in Kansas, I honestly believe that that's why I need to be the thorn in the side of all the political people, and do
Mhm.
podcasts and show that life can be a recovery. You can be in fully recovery with smoking cannabis. You don't have to be abstinent, you know. Uh,
Mhm.
you know, because NA and all those, they require you to be fully abstinent. They believe that you can't have anything, and
But technically, do they? I'm about to throw the wrench in because,
you can be addicted to coffee, can't you? And what do
but
they
you can
serve
also
at
be,
an NA meeting? But black coffee and cookies.
but you can also be in a position where you are addicted to narcotic medication.
Yes, you
And
can.
that is, and I'm like, here I go on this soapbox, but that I found has been acceptable in the community of,
Yes, it
and
does.
and like, let me just really quickly rephrase and not get it twisted. AA got me to a point in my recovery where I was abstinence from drugs.
Right.
But then in that, in my recovery, I found out because I lost full function of from my waist down.
Oh,
So for those of you that don't realize or know what that looks like, a little bit of what that can look like is not being able to walk or being able to use the bathroom in your own ability, like being able to hold it and walk to the bathroom. That was not my experience.
not pretty, right?
It wasn't pretty, but um when I personally began, it was suggested by a neurologist because he couldn't give me narcotic medication.
Right.
And he said, "Hey, I'm gonna write you a prescription to become a patient." And he did. And he did. And I had a different experience. I was feeling so much better. I went 3 months without being able to have full function of my own body. But in the rooms of AA and NA and CMA, I was actually scrutinized and I lost a sponsor. A sponsor was like, "I don't understand cannabis and I can't do anything to help you." And so in that moment, that's when I knew that I will forever be the sponsor that can help people that use cannabis in their recovery. And so when I started the business, I actually had a friend reach out to me and she said, "Hey, I have somebody that I think needs your help.
Right.
Do you mind if I give them your number?" And she
Right.
became my first client. She did my first thing, which was recovery and Reiki. And I remember our first conversation. She's like, "Well, I use cannabis." I said, "Oh, so do I. So do I. Hi, I'm Tammy." you know? And in the rooms of the in our rooms, they are, I believe they are strongly helpful and they can help people. But I think that they're so
They can do
close-minded.
damage too.
Yes, being very close-minded.
Yes. Um, I believe NA and AA, they have their purposes. They help some people, but there's other avenues for other people. And we don't get to fit in that little perfect box.
And that I found I found more support in the rooms of Buddhist recovery and
Right?
cannabis recovery,
Yes.
and I think that one of my final thoughts and words of encouragement for any of our listeners is, hey, be open-minded to what works for you. Use that non-judgment when it comes to finding something for you, because guess what? Not everything works for everybody. Like some people, Buddhist recovery doesn't work because they have a challenge with meditation. Some people, cannabis recovery doesn't work. Some people, AA doesn't work. But they may be the person that Christian recovery works or religious recovery works. There's so many forms. If you are someone that is new, find the space. And Coco is actually, I'm about to ask her to give you guys some information on some spaces if you're someone that's interested in cannabis recovery. But first, before that, Coco, I would like to let's give our listeners your final words of encouragement.
It can be done. There's nothing magical about me and my recovery. Like, here's where I'm going to pat myself on the back um, to give encouragement. I have 33 years off of crack. I have 26 years off of meth. I have 12 years off of tobacco. I have 6 years off of opiates and benzos and any self harm. Um, and there's nothing magical about me. I'm just a normal person, even though normal is a setting on the dryer. I just learned to look at blessings.
Yes. And that's the thing, folks. We all can do it. And Coco, you and I have talked about some really amazing resources in the cannabis recovery community. Do you mind dropping
Canna
a
recovery. It is all about Canna recovery. It's on Facebook. It's on TikTok. And it's just seriously Canna recovery. Capital C, capital R. Um, that helped me like with that aha moment of wait, this is a reality. This is something that people use, so and that's for the cannabis. I follow a doctor who does more of the holistic things, and does a thing he does with hot water to help people that are actively in trying to work on recovery with Suboxone, where he can't. The cannabis may not be an option, but he tries to lead you to steps that can help people that he's having good rapport with, and it's called Recovery Gone Viral 2.0.
Okay.
He's fully aware that there are people out there that can use cannabis. He tries to go even more holistic and tells you mushrooms to eat and things like that, but not fun mushrooms, at least. Those have been the two biggest uh, resources I have ran into.
Wow, awesome. And one thing that I want to say really quickly is, folks, you can definitely take a look in the box that gives you all the information about Coco, and you'll see some information, some shout outs to these resources. And Coco, one thing that I want to tell you is, number one, thank you. Thank you for coming on here. Thank you for telling your story. Thank you for being a figure in my life that has been a beautiful piece for myself. And I want to ask if you could share one message with someone battling addiction right now, what would that truly be?
I love you on purpose. You're worth it. If you need to be in active addiction, please use the hotline Never Use Alone. It's that way. Overdoses are helped. Like they're helping people with that resource. They help people not pass away from fentanyl overdoses and what other else of the crap they have in the systems nowadays. I don't remember their number right off the top of the head, but they are on Facebook of Never Use Alone. They do a lot of good things for the community. But there's always me. I can be reached on TikTok. I can be reached on Facebook. And I'd rather sit in the dark with somebody that's in addiction than lose another person.
Thank you, Coco. Thank you. And everyone, please, like I said, take a look at the box giving you the description, because in there, I will make sure to put about Canna Recovery. I will find the number for Never Use Alone, and also for this interesting medical professional that talks about goes through a holistic process with this. Again, Coco, thank you for joining us. And remember, everybody, we love you on purpose, and take a moment to change your mind, to change your life. Happy healing.